All right, it's been a while since I've done agentic coding on my YouTube channel, so I'm going to try to add a couple more features and fix some bugs on this rapid cut application I kind of made a video about yesterday. So this is an application where I can upload all my YouTube videos and then have it automatically identify places that I need to cut out. And then I can quickly go through, edit them, delete the stuff, and then export it to a video to then publish on my YouTube channel or whatnot. There are some things I kind of want to tweak about this. For example, like there's no percentage when I'm sliding this thing. It'd be kind of cool if it showed like a percentage of audio. I'm going to take a screenshot here. And we're going to just load up Claude Code. And then I'm going to drag this screenshot in. Can you please show a percentage of the audio when I drag this? Okay, really simple thing. I probably kick off in the Claude Code because it can probably do it one shot pretty accurately. Let's move back and just keep on testing this application. So I'm going to click on one of these and probably zoom in a little bit. I'm going to cut this, delete this, make sure this works. All right, that's another problematic thing. I did a slide back. Like I had the ability to slide this timeline, but if you get to the very far left of it, it like takes you back and it does a normal browser back, which is not the best user experience. So I wonder if maybe we can put a block onto that. I will just go ahead and kick off another Claude Code. When I have my mouse over the timeline panel, can you please prevent the user from accidentally navigating back by doing like a 3-finger swipe because it's a bad user experience? Kick that one off as well. I do like to edit these titles. I'll say like prevent back. This one will be CC and this will be volume percentage. All right, let's test this out. Okay, it looks pretty good. You can mute it. Very good. It restores to the right place. Now some other things. When I refresh this page, notice that I lose all the edits that I just did. So I think we need to persist that somewhere in local storage per project. So a project by project basis. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this full URL. And by the way, all the techniques I'm kind of showing you in this video, these are things that I outline in this Agentic Jumpstart course that I'm working on. I have over 74 videos, 11.5 hours of content teaching Claude Code, Cursor, Agentic coding, and we also build out a full stack web application using Drizzle and TanStack Start and getting it deployed out to somewhere. So if you guys are interested in seeing my workflows, definitely go check out agenticjumpstart.com. In the meantime, let's jump back to the application we're trying to build out. So when I refresh the page, we lose all the state. I'm trying to build this out for a local only tool. Like I don't care about deploying this somewhere, having like a database. So what I want is to be able to store some of the stuff into local storage, especially when I make the edits, right? So when I make an edit and I hard refresh, it should persist that. So we're going to kick off yet another one. This is the way I actually teach in my course. Like I like to make these different terminals and I'll say like persist edits. Now, for the most part, I keep Opus on everything, but can you please make sure that when we edit anything in the project, that you persist those edits somewhere into local storage so that if I hard refresh the application, we can see those exact same changes load back up. Make sure the code you write is very adaptable so that the front-end logic doesn't really know about local storage. Wrap local storage away to like a persistence layer so that I can eventually abstract that away to like a database if I want to, right? Make the code nice and clean and abstract. Okay, so throwing in those additional things can help it generate a little bit better code. Sometimes I will do a plan mode if that's something that I feel like it's going to be super complex to figure out, but I think this is a pretty simple thing. Like anytime the project's timeline gets cut up, I just need to persist it somewhere. And then also, we have to think about the undo and redo functionality. I got to make sure that works. I'm going to cut this a couple places. Cut it here. I'm going to delete. Can I undo with a Command R? Sorry, that actually just refreshed the page. Hold on. So let me delete Command Z. Doesn't seem like it undoes. Let's go over here. So we have undo as Control Z. Okay, so it does look like it's working for the undo. Is there a redo? What's redo? Control Shift Z. Interesting. Now you might also ask, why am I not doing the editing using Automaker? Because sometimes I just, this is my workflow I've been doing for like a year or two using Cursor and Claude Code. And it's very hard to switch a workflow once you're like, the muscle memory is ingrained. So although I do like Automaker and I use it for setting up the initial project, I will sometimes get into the actual like IDE setting if I want to review code or like quickly edit stuff. And this is something I do teach in Agentic Jumpstart is like you do need to review the code on a serious project, but on a side project that you're like vibe coding, probably not as important. So let's test out the back button, make sure it doesn't actually work. Okay, so I can still do the back when I'm like up here. I can still do it when I'm over here, but when I'm hovering over the timeline, the entire timeline section, it does not allow me to do back, which is great. It doesn't allow me to do it on there. I don't like how when I hover over this seek bar, actually, I don't know what this is called. I should actually go and look at what this thing is called here. I don't think it actually has a data name or an ID. Video seek bar. Yeah, it's called a video seek bar. Okay, seek bar. I'm actually just going to copy this whole thing. Why not? And I want to prompt it over here. Since this is working, I'm going to go ahead and just clear it out. And I'm also going to add all these changes. After I verify different prompts are working, I will typically just add them into the stage so I can quickly like stash all these things if I run into an issue. But for right now, I'm going to clear out this terminal and we're going to paste in this. And I'm going to say, can you please make sure that the video seek bar does not change width or height when I hover over it? Just make the overall height 2 pixels or 4 pixels a little bit larger than it is now so that it's a better user experience. The hovering causes a bunch of content shifting, which I do not want. Okay, so I'm kind of being explicit. The content shifting, that's like a keyword that the LLM could probably hone in on to make sure it really understands what I'm talking about. Also, I mentioned the word CSS, I think. No, maybe I didn't say CSS, but I did say when you hover over it. And I also provided the video seek bar as a keyword. Now, when you're doing agentic coding, you want to be aware that these tools like Claude Code and Open Code and whatever use grep and use find to try to find relevant code. Right? It's the same way that I would do it when I'm coding, right? I'd just go ahead and grab this and do a Control-Shift-R, and then I find it right here. This is the video seek bar, right? And so I found that these tools basically do it the same way that coders do it. They will just grab some stuff from the DOM, quickly find it, and then they can modify that. So notice that it found that exact seek bar container. So in your prompt, make sure that you are adding specific keywords that you know for a fact it's going to pick up on in your code base. Because if you just try to be very ambiguous, it's not going to perform as well. So be very specific on what you're asking, or if you can even know that you have a seekbar.tsx, which I think is hidden. Let me move my editor down just a little bit. So a seekbar.tsx, I could have probably just, slapped this thing in there, and then it would have had context of how to actually modify that. But let's just let this one finish. The persisting edits is still cooking, so we have to kind of let that one finish up. So while that's doing that, is there anything else we could probably work on? I do think the keyboard shortcuts defaults. It should default on segments. So like when the app loads, can you make sure you default on the right toolbar? So I'm actually going to go over here. I'm going to clear this one out. When the app first loads in the editor route, can you please make sure that the stacks is the first default view for the selected tabs on the right toolbar? And if you want to be very specific, you could probably even give it a, I'm going to click on this, and I called it segments. So I actually used the wrong word. Sometimes when I'm prompting, I will say the wrong thing. So instead of saying stacks, I'm going to say segments button. Okay. And then I gave it an image just so it has additional context of like what the heck I'm talking about. But I do like to be very descriptive in my prompts. I like to say in the right toolbar. So it has understanding of, okay, this thing over here, which again, my head is kind of hiding. So hopefully you guys understand, but this thing. And then I changed the keyword from stacks to segments because that is actually what it is when you hover over it. So again, it's all about giving it the right context so it can quickly find in one attempt what the heck you're actually trying to prompt it for. Okay, so now if I refresh this, it should default to the segments. That's the most important thing that I need to load. I could even tell it to like persistent to local storage if you wanted to. But right now we've actually asked it to do a couple things. This one is still trying to cook for the persisted edits. Volume back, this looks like it's done. Sorry, actually, what did we do here? Test it in the browser. This is the seek bar. Okay, this one I forgot. Typically, I like to rename these like when I change it, just so I understand like what the heck I even default tab selected. Now you might see that I don't really like using work trees. Like when it's just me on a side project, I like to just put multiple features into my stage, and then I'll commit it to main, right? If you're doing this on a professional environment, a professional project with other coworkers, you probably want to make work trees for every feature to keep them separate and isolated so you can make that pull request that only adds in that very specific feature or that bug fix. Instead of merging it all into one giant PR, people are probably not going to be happy with you if you keep doing that type of work. But as far as like side projects and low risk small teams, this is the type of approach I like to take. All right, looks like it's done. Let's just test this out. I'm going to cut this one in a couple places. I'm going to delete this, and then I'm going to verify if I refresh. Does it look exactly the same as it did before? It looks like we do hit a small little snag. Was that an error? Let's try to figure that out. What happened there? So 1443 is the total video length. Let me cut some of the stuff again and delete it. So now we're at 23 or 1233. Do a hard refresh. Yeah, so it is persisting it. So I do want to test out the application because I remember at one point I like deleted a segment and these timestamps were not updated. So for example, right here, 2:55, when I delete this segment right here, it should kind of scale this based on, I think 6 seconds. So this should become like 2:49 if I delete this one. So let's delete it. And it did not update it to 2:49. It kept it at 2:55. So I think that's a little bug. I'm going to go ahead and just like undo that maybe. And then I'm going to just take a screenshot. This one might be a little bit trickier. This one might be trickier for Claude Code to figure out. But I am going to go ahead and just add all these because I think it's working pretty good. And then I'm going to go back and I forgot to paste that in. And I'm going to paste this one in. When I delete the orange card, I'm noticing that there's a 6-second difference in time. And when I delete it, I would expect the other segments in the right panel to also have modified their start times and end times so that when I click them, I can go to the proper starting location of these segments. Or at the very least, the segment start time should reflect the total edited timeline of the application. Can you please fix that? Now, again, you might say, well, like, why don't you use plans when you code with Claude Code? I have found that if you're just very good at prompting and very specific in what you're trying to do, it does a great job. If you're trying to add a feature that you're not too sure about, like how the implementation could work. So for example, on my Agentic Jumpstart course, I'm trying to add in affiliate links. I have never done that before. I don't know what affiliate links even entitle. Like how do you end up adding in Stripe Connect and then adding in a coupon code so that when someone buys your course with a coupon code, you give a kickback to the affiliate? I don't know how to do that, right? So I would probably do a plan and then I would read through the plan to make sure I understand a higher level overview of how that feature could be implemented. And then I question it. And then I would probably kick off that plan if it seems good. Okay, for something like this, again, I would consider this more of like a little bug in like start time and end time logic. And I think we could probably just kick this off without using a plan. Now, if we're lucky, it's going to be able to one-shot this one. But I do like, for stuff like this, I will read through it. I understand the issue now. The segment cards are displaying source video times, original positions in the video file. But when you delete a segment, the user expects to see timeline times, positions, and edited output. So one thing I would recommend doing is as the LLM is writing back to you, there are keywords that it's picking up on: source, video times, and then also timeline times. These are two differentiating things that I guess the LLM uses to figure out the difference between the times over here and then the times on the actual original video we uploaded. And so if you keep those in your memory bank, right, later on when you're prompting, you can remember, oh, I need to talk about the timeline times, and then later I could talk about the source video times. And so I think it is good to read the output of an LLM and sometimes slow down. Like sometimes I'll have 6 Claude Code terminals modifying various things at the same time, and sometimes I'll just slow down. I'll just say like, you know what, I'm just going to focus on this one because I think it's important to understand how the code is changing and how to maybe re-prompt this in the future. So let's just let it kind of cook for a little bit, and then we will see if this thing kind of works. Now, I will say Opus 4.5 is a great model, but sometimes it just cannot figure out the bug you're trying to fix or implement the thing that you need. And I do have strategies that I talk about in Agentic Jumpstart course where there's different models you want to leverage when Opus 4.5 just fails. Like many times I've tried reprompting Opus 4 or 5 or 6 different times in different approaches. I've tried clearing out the context window. I've tried giving it additional planning, and it still cannot figure out how to solve the bug. I've even gone into the code base and I've highlighted stuff and I said, hey, this is like where you need to look, and then it cannot figure it out. And when you reach those type of bugs, like there's other strategies that you can take. But for right now, I think hopefully Opus should be able to knock this one out of the park. It looks like it's done. You know what would be nice if I had a way to clear all edits. Like right now, I think I have to go into my local storage. Let's go here. Let's go to local storage. And you see there's a rapid cut edit state project number. Okay, so that's storing the state for the project edits. And we can just delete that one. And I'm going to refresh. And notice that the bottom bar is going to hopefully look a little bit different. Let me just edit these things again. I'll delete these 2 things. I want to make sure this is actually like persisting, right? Yeah, let's delete this again. Yeah, why did it load? You see how it kind of loaded back? Let me double check that. I think there's something wrong going on. Let me delete this and delete this. I want to make sure that this is actually like persisting. Do a hard refresh. So that's kind of strange. There's a little bug there I got to figure out as to why refreshing it twice seems to bring back the original edit state. So we could probably go back to over here and active panel segments. This one, I'm going to go over here and just say like CC double edit issue or double refresh issue, actually a refresh issue. I'm I'm going to clear out this context window. We want a fresh context window. Right now, when we change or edit the timeline, we are persisting these changes into local storage. But I'm noticing if I refresh the app twice, it seems to reset all the edits back to the original state. Can you go and debug this and try to look through the code base as to where? So sometimes I'll just throw in an ultra think. I feel like this one is going to be a little bit more challenging for it to figure out. I don't know why, but it should have, been able to do this. It's pretty simple. Every time you change the timeline, you should have an effect that's running in a React to basically persist it down to local storage. And then when the app loads, you should be fetching that back. There's no reason this thing should have been resetting. So I think there's probably a race condition in my application, which now that I think about it, double check there's no race condition that's causing it to load from local storage and persist it differently. I might just go ahead and throw that in there just because I do think there's maybe a race condition with effects. And just giving that extra context when it's cooking, again, Claude Code will grab that and start using it as it's thinking, I believe. So it'll kind of throw that in at last minute during its ultra think and kind of change its outputs. Let's go back over here. So this one, I'm not sure what the excluded means, honestly. Let's do a hard refresh here, and we're going to click on excluded. And I'm going to ask, let's actually just look up excluded. For non-kept segments, cut, retake, dead air, shows source times within excluded indicators since they won't appear in the final video. I'm not sure I understand the excluded that you're adding to my segment cards. I haven't deleted those cards yet, and it should not say excluded. They should actually be in the final video. So until I actually delete them, like the whole card should go away. There not should be like this flag to I know that they're excluded or not. Okay, so it says, I understand now all segments in the panel should be included in the final video. Segment type is not just a label, not an exclusion. Deleting a card removes it entirely. Let me fix that. Yeah, I'm not sure why I did that. I probably didn't give it a very specific prompt. And that's something you're going to see is that often, depending on the time of day, you are going to prompt poorly. You're going to explain your needs poorly to the LLM, and it's going to pick up on certain things that maybe you didn't think it would pick up on. And so you have to be a little bit more specific in your prompting and try to reprompt it to fix it to try to get rid of that excluded stuff. So let's refresh the app. I'm going to click on this and delete it. Now it's gone. And also we have 5 seconds here. So if I delete this, it reset this back to 0, 0, which I think my head is hiding, but it says 0, 0 there. Yeah, so I think that's working. Let's go over here, delete that. This whole thing got shifted over. Let's make sure we can scale this down. Okay. And then that also checks. So 344 is when it ended. Let's scale it down. Yeah, that's also editing. That's pretty good. And the duration is dropping. So it's 1304. Drop it again. Did it actually go down? 1309. I'm going to drag this one down. Yeah, it is dragging it. Let's drag this one. Cool. Okay, so it's still cooking on the double refresh issue. The persisted edits looks like this is fixed. I might just add that in as well. And at this point, I'm just going to wait. I think this will be the last thing we add in to this agentic coding video that I'm doing right now. But hopefully just by watching my workflow, this is just a sneak peek of like how I actually build in general with these AI tools now with Claude Code and Cursor. As you can tell, like I'm primarily using Claude Code in this video, but sometimes I will jump over to Cursor, especially if I want to just edit something inline. I could just like the inline edits. If I wanted to basically just, I don't know, do Composer 1. Composer 1 is really good for refactoring. So I do like having Cursor around for Composer 1. Opus is nice, but it's just kind of slow, right? And so sometimes you're like, man, I just want to do a quick little refactoring or a quick little bug fix. I'll throw it in the Composer 1 and it just cooks. Now, one thing that's good to do when you're doing agentic coding is switch your Git view to a tree view so you can actually see like what files are editing. And you want to make sure that the code looks a little bit decoupled. You know, you want hooks to be in a hooks folder. You want different components to be broken up in the smaller subcomponents. So if you kind of look through all the file changes, we have a segments panel. It's about 300 lines of code. We got a seek bar. Okay, this one's pretty short too, 133. So I would go through and review the code and make sure that it's not hitting like a ginormous line count. This one's getting kind of big, 574. I'd probably refactor that into smaller components if possible. Let's see, timeline segment. Again, this one's pretty big. We got the preview player, not too big. Video controls, okay. So notice that all the components are named pretty well. They're very self-describing. They're not too large in terms of file sizes. And this application is very low risk. Like it doesn't really deal with a database. It just deals with executing FFmpeg file calls. So that's the one area where I probably really focus on of doing like a code review to make sure that we're not potentially causing a lot of issues. So here's the local storage persistence adapter. So we have a nice adapter here, which I'm wondering if there's an interface. Is there an interface or anything that we could potentially reuse? Okay, so it has a storage adapter interface, right? Not sure where that's actually defined. It's a type, okay? So this is good because now in the future we can swap this out, and instead of dealing with local storage for these type of things, we can actually hook it into Postgres or some type of other thing. So having an adapter and remembering to prompt about making the code decoupled and clean can help set you up for success later on and not let your code turn into like an unmanageable pile of garbage, right? So these are things that you have to get used to when you're prompting, is like throw in the good keywords that a good software engineer would add so your code is actually maintainable. Okay, we got hooks. Okay, some cool stuff there. I don't really care about that stuff. Middleware. Yeah, so overall, I mean, I'm okay with the project structure. I'd probably spend more time doing a thorough analysis of like the changes, but overall, this is a really small side project that I want to use for my own YouTube videos. And so for a higher risk project, you probably want to spend a couple hours reviewing the code, making sure it seems good. And you're not going to be able to go full blast with agentic coding on like a legit professional work project. But again, on these like side projects, you're trying to ship a SaaS product really fast, you can lean more into like the vibe coding, like let's just get this stuff done as long as it works. Now, one thing a lot of people ask me, I'm going to talk about how much usage I've done so far. So right now, this is like about 5% usage from just this video alone. Granted, I probably actually used some tokens on other things as well. So this isn't even accurate of how much I just used. I think this actually just reset like 15 minutes ago. So I probably haven't even used that much. But the point is that like if you're coding full time, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you could probably hit your limits. But as a project grows in size, you're doing a lot more reviewing code, you're doing a lot more thinking, and then you're going to prompt and let the agent kind of do the work for you. And then at some point, you do have all this other stuff that comes into play, right? You have to do the pull requests, you have to talk to teammates, you have meetings you have to join, you have diagrams that you may have to review or write for other teammates, you have onboarding documentation. There's like a lot of stuff that goes into your day job. And I think people think that like you're going to burn through thousands of dollars using these credits, and that's just not the case. Like I have barely ever hit my limits using Claude Code, the $100 a month plan. And when I do, I just take that as a signal like, yo, just go get up for a second, go take a little walk, take a mental break and come back. Now, if you really want to go all in on coding, then probably get like the $200 a month plan for Claude Code. But for me, even for long as I've been coding for 13 years now, I hardly ever hit the limits because I'm not just blindly prompting over and over again. Like I'm very meticulous on what I'm asking it. And then typically I get like good one-shot results, and I never really hit my limits. Now this one's taken a hot minute. This is 11 minutes into thinking, trying to fix this persistence bug. I hope it does fix it, but I guess we'll try to see. This will be the last thing we're going to do in this video. And then I'm going to go ahead and just probably try to use Rapid Cut to edit this exact video that I just recorded, and I can publish it on my YouTube channel tomorrow. Okay, this is a sign that it's done. When it runs this npx tsx no omit, it means it's checking for type errors. So I think we can actually just like refresh again. And it seems like it did not fix the issue, okay? Yeah, notice here that it did not fix the issue. So Opus 4.5, although it's a great model, it cannot fix everything. And I would take this as a sign of I need to refactor my code to split up into smaller, more maintainable chunks, or I could probably reach out to a different model. But I will tell you, that is all covered in my agenticjumpstart.com course. Go check it out. If you want more information, we'll talk about when I choose some models over the other. And I think that is great information. So go check out my course if you're interested. Other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a good day and happy coding.